Welcome back. This is segment 2 of Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. My name is Ken Matthews. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your donations. Thank you for your tips. Thank you again for the wonderful holiday cards and gifts and donations. It really put me in a great mood. I got to tell you, this is an interesting time for the country, and it's really an up and down time for people that want to tell the truth or are transitioning from different media platforms. And to have an audience like you it's beyond description. Please understand and know how grateful I am, especially you folks that have been here since the very beginning in September of 22. Thank you again. God bless you. God bless you and your families. I am thrilled that you're here, and I hope the new audio platform is working for you. Next week, we have a big interview next week that will be video. But I've gotten so many positive comments on how easy this format is to listen to. And I'm not going to lie to you, I feel much more comfortable in this format. And I don't know if it's just because I was so self-conscious because of the video stuff. The final thing for me that got me to transition, you know what? I need to do another ad campaign. I'm transitioning as a man, born as a man. I'm now transitioning from video all the time. Sometimes the podcast will only identify as audio. There's got to be some benefit for me from the government. Video is very much a distraction if you're trying to do it solo. And the people that do it successfully all over multimedia platforms, in particular the internet, wow, respect to you. These people that started out in a basement or a home studio, and now they have a gazillion viewers or listeners, and they started out with one person, then they had two, and that's good stuff. Now, if we can just get more people on this format to tell the truth, we'll be in good shape. There's been a development, and I want to share it with you. You've probably heard it already. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't, but I want to go right to it. I want to go to, believe it or not, I never thought I'd be saying this. I never thought I'd be playing this, but there has been a transition. No, he's still a man or a lizard or whatever. I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg. He is now against censorship. And there's a couple other developments. This is a statement that Mark Zuckerberg, the honcho at Meta, and of course, so-called founder of Facebook. And here are some of his comments on coming changes with Facebook. Listen to this.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but will also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government.
Holy moly! Did you ever in your life think that you would hear Mark Zuckerberg saying those words, mentioning Donald Trump, talking about mistakes, talking about overreach? I told you I was going to share some good news. If we take this at face value, this is some great news. As someone who was kicked off Facebook, I had to fight my way back on. When I was kicked off Facebook, not that it matters, but when I was kicked off, I had maybe, 30,000 followers or friends or whatever you call it. And that's because I was very active in radio at the time. I was guest hosting for Mr. Limbaugh. I had my own show in Pennsylvania. I was doing a lot of stuff. I got banned during the Trump administration for something that was ridiculous. But it happened to a lot of people. The only reason I'm on Facebook is just to let people know where I am and what I'm doing, and to keep track of a handful of people that I actually like on Facebook. I use Facebook as a personal, quote unquote, promotional tool. I don't use Facebook so you can see my recipes or 58 selfies I took at the beach or trying out filters to make me look younger. I use Facebook to say, hey, I'm over here on subscribestar.com, telling the truth. I have a history of telling the truth. I have a broadcast history. It's a pretty good reputation as far as being credible. So come on over and check it out. That's why I go on these other platforms. I'm doing it just to let people know what I'm doing and to just stay in this machine, this mix of social media marketing where I was really not in for years. There's close to 8 million podcasts worldwide. When you hear me say everybody has a podcast, I'm not kidding. Everybody has a podcast. And some are outstanding. They are wonderful podcasts. It's amazing. If you find a sweet spot on the internet, and I'm not talking about you pervs, I'm talking about if you find a person that is truthful and ethical and moral on the internet and you can watch them on YouTube with your family, or maybe there's so much music content. There's so much good stuff, but then there's so much garbage. So it's really up to the parents. It's up to the parents. It's not up to the government to decide. It's up to me, number one, what my kid sees. And if you're a platform and you tell me my 13-year-old girl will never have access to some of the filth that's on some of these platforms, you say, well, there's no way. I'm going to trust you to a degree with that. But at the end of the day, and this is why I'm not a big fan of censorship in either direction, at the end of the day, parents raise kids, and as kids get older, they have to think for themselves using good judgment, ethics and morals and integrity, which hopefully they've gained from their parents or from role models that have pushed them in the right direction. So the fact that Zuckerberg, but I got to tell you, what is happening? January 7th, 2025, the day after January 6th, the day after the certification of Donald J. Trump, the resignation of Justin Trudeau, and we got the guy, Facebook. This may open doors for people that are pro-free speech. I don't know, but here's something I want to point out to you. I don't know if you follow UFC. Well, the president of the UFC Ultimate Fighting Championship, Dana White, he was just appointed to the Meta board. He's just been appointed to the Facebook board. Dana White, one of Donald Trump's best buddies, one of Joe Rogan's best buddies, extremely MAGA dude, in your face, capitalist, I love it, pro-America. Dana White is now on the board with Mark Zuckerberg, and Facebook is ditching traditional fact-checking. That's crazy. Think about this. Zuckerberg admiration of Dana White might be because for the last couple of years, Mark Zuckerberg has been taking martial arts training, BJJ, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it doesn't hurt that President Trump has worked toward a relationship with Zuckerberg and basically said, look, can we get you to go in a direction where you're not censoring things? And this would be better for everybody? So he must have agreed with that. I'm going to remain extremely optimistic, and I'm going to file this under good news. You might be saying, well, Ken, what about all that talk last week about Donald Trump wanting to censor? And they still want to censor. There's still going to be censorship. Now, maybe it'll get better on Facebook, but it's got to loosen up on Twitter. It's got to loosen up across the board. Meta owns Instagram too, right? I lose track on that stuff. If I had a promotional team, it would be totally different. But there's no way on earth I want to follow all these different platforms and post and put content on there and links and talk about subscriptions and all. All I want to do really is just talk to my audience. Have fun getting to the truth with people like you that support me and share. And now the audience is starting to grow again. Make the audience grow again. MAGA, make audience grow again. MAGA, make audience grow again. Oh my gosh. Get my lawyer on the phone. We need to sue Trump for using it. It's a joke. That's only a joke. I don't have enough money to sue myself, actually. Make audience grow again. I'm going to do a whole bunch of MAGA posts now. So anyway, that's good news. I enjoy interacting with people, and I enjoy when I do pursue the truth and expose it and share it. It's very rewarding to me when people get in touch with me and they say, oh man, I can't believe you said that 6 months ago and it happened. Just the interaction with this audience it's a notch above your typical entertainment audience or someone that just passively watches news because you guys are engaged. I see your comments and I see when I ask you, so what do you think of this? I get analysis that's better than most people in media. And I know that for a fact. And so do you. Yeah, should we do some more good news? Okay, let's do some more good news. I think this would fall under good news.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who was reportedly promised a health role in Donald Trump's White House, says he will root out, quote, corruption in the Food and Drug Administration. Here he is in an interview with MSNBC.
There are entire departments, like the nutrition departments at FDA, that have to go, that are not doing their job. They're not protecting our kids. Why do we have Fruit Loops in this country that have 18 or 19 ingredients, and you go to Canada and it's got 2 or 3?
It's unclear what Kennedy's job under Trump would be. The former presidential candidate didn't rule out Secretary of Health and Human Services, which heads the FDA.
Who were you calling Fruit Loops, mister? There is so much cognitive dissonance in our culture. It is truly amazing. The mother who will walk down the grocery aisle, she puts on her glasses and she's perusing all the details of the ingredients because she truly cares about her kids and her family. She's going through all the stuff, all the ingredients, and making sure the kids get healthy this and healthy that. And no, that's too much sugar. You're not going to have that type of juice. It's not real juice, whatever it may be, right? And then injects her kid with, 59 shots before they're 10 or something. So it's weird. I call that cognitive dissonance. If you're going to go down the road and check the ingredients on the chicken, see what's in the chicken you're buying, and see what's in the fuel you're burning in your hybrid solar panel skateboard scooter machine, well, then I think you should see what's in your medicine. Like I said, 2 pieces of good news in the second segment right off the bat. Let me tell you, this is, I know some of you at this point, you might be in tears. Tears of joy. That's what they are. And don't be shocked. There'll be more tears of joy if you keep supporting this channel. the Ken Matthews Report on subscribestar.com. MAGA, make audience grow again. At first I said make audience great again, but you guys are already great. We just need more of you. Make audience grow again. MAGA. See now, this is so awesome because I can recycle all the MAGA stuff that I own. Looking back, what was I thinking? What was I thinking? You know, I've broken down and confessed to you guys the level of guilt and shame and embarrassment of my tie collection and my t-shirt collection. And there's no guilt over my MAGA collection, but I just didn't realize I bought so much stuff. Because I've been on the Trump train, since 2015. So I don't need 13 hats. I don't need a half a dozen t-shirts and a hoodie. Now I can wear them. And when someone goes, what's that? You're still wearing the MAGA stuff? Yeah, make audience grow again. Oh, what's that all about? And then they'll immediately sign up for $5.99 a month, and they'll help the little podcasts that could. A New York judge yesterday denied President Donald Trump's request. He made it earlier yesterday to delay the sentencing in his business records case. It is scheduled for Friday, by the way. Trump's lawyers earlier yesterday petitioned Judge Juan M. Merchan for the delay, saying they plan to ask a state appeals court to reverse Merchant's decision last week, which set the case for sentencing on Friday. So the president of the United States, just elected in a landslide, actually he's been elected 3 times, he'll be sentenced on Friday for what pretty much is a bogus, it's pretty much a, dare I say, trumped up charge. Yeah. People are having a tough time with this January 6th thing. Most of the women on CNN, a lot of the women and the men are the same. A lot of the men, 50-plus men, they're liberals. And a lot of white liberal men have the body, and I know the trans community, you're going to be excited about this, trapped within a lot of these white, middle-aged or white 50, 60-plus men in media are teenage girls. It's how they talk. It's how they argue. I'm not picking on teenage girls. I'm just saying that I have to say it is fun to watch. They're always hoping for trouble, whether it's from their own side or from their other side, from the other side. I don't know. Can't figure them out.
Brad, is it time for Donald Trump to apologize for what took place 4 years ago?
I wouldn't expect Donald Trump would apologize. I think nor do I expect Democrats to apologize for trying to undo his presidency by all legal and extra legal means after that.
Come on, Brad. Come on.
No, Jim, look at our own polling. Look at CNN's own exit polling. Voters who said they voted on democracy were evenly split between Democrats and Republicans. January 6th was a dark day in the history of our country. Donald Trump bears a lot of responsibility for that. It's something that should stain his legacy forever. However, voters, they punished him for it. That's why he was behind Ron DeSantis by 20 points until Alvin Bragg indicted him. And once voters decided that Democrats were determined to prevent Donald Trump from being elected by any extra legal means, they decided maybe this wasn't as clear.
I mean, shouldn't your party have just rejected him, just flat out rejected him, from Kevin McCarthy to Mitch McConnell to the whole lot of them? How could your party let him be the nominee again? Watch
what Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell said in the aftermath of that. They absolutely did condemn him. Mitch McConnell was still condemning him months afterward on the floor. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi decided to use January 6th for partisan gain, though. She appointed. She refused to let Kevin McCarthy appoint Republicans to the committee. She didn't let Republicans hire staff to the January 6th Oversight Committee. They didn't allow cross-examination.
The January 6th committee had the Republican of all Republicans, Liz Cheney, on.
Liz Cheney she was not a.
Do you realize how full of crap Jim Acosta is? The January 6th committee was a joke. It was a kangaroo court. It was biased. It wasn't even sanctioned by the DOJ or a judge. In those committees, there's supposed to be a judge. There was no judge. It was a bunch of angry ladies like Adam Schiff and Swalwell and that fool Jamie Raskin. We'll hear from him in a minute. And, of course, Liz Cheney. If one more moron says, Liz Cheney, the Republican of all Republicans, no, she's a deep state liar, hack, neocon, warmonger, just like her daddy was. Her daddy should be in jail. Dick Cheney should be in jail. But from what I understand, he's not doing very well. He's sick. So I don't wish bad health on any of these people. The last thing I want to see is someone put into jail when they can't even, function. I want them to be healthy. I wish good health on all these people. One day they're going to get theirs. It may even be from God. It may not even be in the earthly realm. I don't wish ill health on anybody. I do wish death on certain people, like the guy that lit the woman on fire. I can't believe he made it to the police station alive. And now we've got to pay for him, and we got to pay for his trial, and we got to give him a defense. And just like the guy who shot the CEO, the health guy, healthcare CEO. Getting back to the idiots on CNN and that ridiculous exchange where there was one guy with a brain on the panel with CNN, and he was absolutely correct in everything he said. In true fashion, CNN, they're puppets. They're angry puppets. And again, the men are like angry teenage girls. Nuh-uh, nuh-uh. Liz Cheney isn't a Republican. She was never really a true Republican. Nuh-uh, nuh-uh. Joe Biden didn't use the power of the DOJ to derail Donald Trump's presidency and then go after him repeatedly for unfounded charges. Nuh-uh. That's the news. These people in the news media and these various platforms, but we'll focus on the news media. We'll leave Hollywood out of it. They think that Donald Trump's reputation was hurt by calling out a stolen election, by January 6th, which was not an armed insurrection. The people that suffered the most over the last 10 years are men and women who needed us to believe them, and we don't anymore. So Fox News, they got their ass handed to them because they caved into Dominion, and they caved into Big Pharma, and they caved into the January 6th narrative. Those of us that were on the correct side of that, the truthful side, we didn't suffer. Now, grant you, some of us had career bumps and bruises, but I'm talking about that guy on that panel said, well, this will be a stain on Donald Trump forever. No, it won't. The stain is on the people who stole the election and then the people who would not look at the evidence of a stolen election, and then the people that destroyed hundreds of thousands of American lives because we question the government. That's where the stain is. Not that I want to be talking about stains, not as long as Biden's still in the White House, but when Jim Acosta says this is going to be a stain on your reputation, Jim Acosta's a joke. He's a punchline. You'll notice that there's a handful of new people coming up through the ranks, like in their 30s, young men and women. There's a handful scattered across the news networks, and they're pretty sharp. And some of them have credibility. What's going to happen at the network, I don't know. I mean, in the case of CNN, a lot of people learn the hard way. You start telling the truth, you're out of there. And obviously, that's the same thing with Fox News. So Fox News will not let you criticize Israel. It will not let you criticize a Dominion voting system. There's just certain things you're not going to be able to talk about. And I always bring up Fox News because everybody thought for the longest time Fox News was, that's our team. They're going to get to the bottom of it. All right, let's continue. So here's two men that really think highly of themselves and are pretty mediocre, especially in the world of truth. Here's the pathological liar, Jamie Raskin. And then in the case of Jon Stewart is a complete leftist sellout. He's a total puppet. You'll hear the late night guy frustrated talking to the complete idiot who tried to railroad Donald Trump and thousands of other people that were at January 6th.
How are you, sir? Thank you for joining us. I imagine, sir, a very hectic day. Did they do the traditional chasing of the Congress people through the bowels of the building?
Yeah, well, luckily it was snowing outside, so all the insurrectionists were slipping and falling on the road and everything. So, but no, today was actually a totally uneventful and peaceful and nonviolent day. It's what January 6th should be, and it's what it used to be like, I suppose.
Congressman, is it hard on a day like today, seeing the way that it went, not to be passive-aggressive to the Republican colleagues, to not be like, oh, hey, look at this, done by one. Hey, look, oh my God, we can go out to Fridays and eat apps because there was no rioting.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing took like maybe 25 minutes. It should have taken 15 minutes, but some of our Republican colleagues confused it with the Republican National Convention, and they were cheering and applauding and yelling. We were just there to count the votes, and we were not there to, continue the campaign. But I talked to my friend Lauren Boebert, and I asked her how she enjoyed it, and she said it was great because no Democrats had made any objections, and I said it was terrific because nobody tried to assassinate the vice president, and so. We were all happy with how it went.
This will continue forever. First of all, most of you in this audience, you know what happened. This will continue. It's already been written. The textbooks have been written. If you question you and I are election deniers. Whatever we've been labeled, that's what's in the history books. That's what's in the textbooks at the schools. They'll always say that Donald Trump tried to overthrow an election. He tried to undermine the election. The government and the people that stole that election, the people that rigged machines, the people that targeted witnesses, the people that destroyed evidence, those are the people that undermined the 2020 election. There were millions of people that thought it was stolen. No one really had their day in court with full evidence and testimony. But we're not going to relitigate that. Let's just move on. They rewrote history, and we have to believe it. Well, you don't have to, but it's a shame. By the way, do you know in the first segment today, I was talking about Elon Musk having Donald Trump's ear, and I think that is a double-edged sword, and here's an example of that. President Trump just announced $20 billion investment in data centers. Well, Ken, isn't that great? Well, the investment by DAMAC Properties in the United Arab Emirates is intended to highlight Trump's personal ability to attract new money for big projects. Now, here's the deal. The billionaire Hussein Sawani is a close business partner of the Trump family. Okay, where do you think the money's going to go? Let's see. Here it is. Sawani promised to invest that money into the existing boom for constructing data centers to keep track of us, used in the development of artificial intelligence, there's that darn AI again, and the expansion of cryptocurrency. See, the government's going to control cryptocurrency now. Cryptocurrency is not going to be used to give you financial independence. It's going to be used to further control you. They're going to take digital ID and digital finance and digital currency, and they're going to confuse it and mix it all up with cryptocurrency. And pretty soon, you'll have to do everything on the internet. And when they eventually get rid of the dollar, once all the billionaires and zillionaires and trillionaires and globalists can agree on the currency they like, they're going to put the rest of us on digital or crypto, but it will all be controlled by the government. That's why they call it, what is central bank cryptocurrency or digital central bank digital currency? I forget the acronym. The minute you hear central bank, there goes the fun. Well, actually, there goes everything. The government is expanding artificial intelligence. They're building more data centers. They're expanding cryptocurrency, as well as other elements of an increasingly digital economy that relies on having greater sources of computer processing power. We're less than 24 hours after President Trump was certified, after winning a third election, and he's brought in his good friend and business partner from the United Arab Emirates, Hussein Sawani. The announcement follows a pledge made last month by the Japanese billionaire investor Masayoshi Son, while at Trump's side, to invest $100 billion in the United States. Now, I don't know where that money is being invested. I didn't see it here in the article. The financial company Blackstone has estimated that the United States would see $1 trillion invested in data centers over the next 5 years, with another trillion being committed internationally. Why all the data centers? What happened to manufacturing? That is the future. Artificial intelligence, digital everything, digital ID, digital banking, digital medical, digital everything. Self-driving cars. Everything can be shut off from one central location, like your electric car. And heck, they can already do that now with things like OnStar. And I know OnStar's totally outdated, but everybody knows that concept. Remember when it first came out? People were like, oh my God, this is so cool. Becky in Colorado knows exactly where I'm broke down on the Florida Turnpike. This is incredible. This is awesome.
I'll send you a tow truck soon, sir.
Yeah. Now it's, hi, this is Dave. We're about to drone your ass. Don't try running. By the way, do you know that Joe Biden is still aggressively prosecuting January 6 defendants? Even as pardons loom, he's continuing right up until Inauguration Day. President Joe Biden continues his goal of prosecuting more than 1,500 people for being in or near the Capitol on January 6, 2021, despite the likely futility of the effort and lingering questions about the event that Democrats have described as an attempt to overthrow the government. Blah, 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 bullcrap, bullcrap, bullcrap. Joe Biden is in the process of pardoning some real bad people, and he's going to continue to pursue and prosecute anybody involved with January 6th. I want you to hear this. We're going to wrap up with this because we were speaking earlier of Justin Trudeau, or as many people call him, Justine. Now, this is not Justine Trudeau. Here is a liberal Canadian journalist talking to someone with a brain in Canada, and this guy's sitting there eating an apple, the conservative, just very relaxed, making an idiot out of the journalist. The journalist opens the conversation.
On the topic, I mean, in terms of your sort of strategy currently, you're obviously taking the populist pathway.
What does that mean?
Well, appealing to people's more emotional levels, I would guess. I mean, certainly you tap very strong ideological language quite frequently.
Like what?
Left wing, this and that, right wing. I mean, it's that type of ideological thing.
I never really talk about left or right.
Anyways, a lot of people
don't really believe in that.
Okay, a lot of people would say that you're simply taking a page out of the Donald Trump book.
Like which people would say that?
Well, I'm sure a great many Canadians, but
like who?
I don't know who, but
well, you're the one who asked the question, so
yeah.
You must know somebody.
Okay, I'm sure there's some out there, but anyways, the point of this question is, I mean, why should Canadians trust you with their vote, given not just the sort of ideological inclination in terms of taking the page out of Donald Trump's book, but
what are you
also
talking about? What page? What page? Can you give me a page? Give me the page. You keep saying
in terms of turning things quite dramatically in terms of Trudeau and the left wing and all of this. I mean, you make quite a it's quite a play that you make on it. So I'm
not sure. I don't know what your question is.
Then forget that. Why should Canadians trust you with their vote?
Common sense. Okay. Common sense for a change. We're going to make common sense common in this country. We don't have any common sense in the current government. The guy prints $600 billion, grows our money supply by 32% in 3 years. That's growing the money 8 times faster than the economy. No wonder we have the worst inflation in 4 decades. I'm going to cap spending, cut waste, so that we can balance the budget and bring down inflation and interest rates. You'll want to be able to pay your mortgage again? You want to be able to afford rent? Then you have to vote for Pierre Poilievre, because I'm the only one with a common sense plan that will bring back the buying power of your paycheck.
Wow! So get a message to Trump. We don't need to annex Canada. If they get enough of people that think like Pierre, they'll be just fine. Just like we have enough people that think MAGA terms, right? But I love his make common sense common again. That's pretty good. That's right up there with make America great again. Let's wrap up with one more thing. I think this falls under the good news. The good news that we've been sharing with you in this segment. It's been pretty good. I'm feeling kind of giddy. You can probably tell. Or it could just be coffee. I don't know. New evidence reveals a 30-year global drop in hurricane frequency and power. There's an article in Nature magazine that found no increase in the destructive power of cyclones. That's the generic term, by the way, for typhoons or hurricanes. In any ocean basin over the last 30 years. In the South Indian Basin, the location of Cyclone Chido, or is it Cheeto? I've heard it both ways. Cheeto would be more fun. In the South Indian Basin, there was a dramatic decrease in frequency and duration in recent times. So you get all these idiots, the net zero idiots. Well, we're going to have net zero carbon. What do the net zero idiots do? They come in and they train people in academia and meteorology, and you cannot watch a weather report, as you know, without hearing all this pseudoscience crap. Every time there's a snowstorm, every time there's a ice storm, every time there's a flood, every time there's a hurricane, there's some moron on the Weather Channel. Well, you know, this is because of man-made, human-caused climate change, these weather events. It's wrong. It's never been proven, number one. And why is it even relevant? Because it's pseudoscience. It's a religion. That's how they sell crap on their channel. That's how they sell you green cars, electric cars, carbon-reducing crap. That's how they pitched carbon credits all over the world, trying to convince people, these net zero fools, net zero IQ is what they have. Your carbon footprint is too big and you're going to have to cut back. But I just wanted to point out to you that every month, there's new factual scientific data that disproves most, if not all, of the major climate crisis narratives. How we're all going to be underwater by this date, and we're all going to burn to death by this date, and there's not going to be any more trees by this date. It's prediction after prediction after prediction that was only designed to do exactly what the government has become expert at: scaring the population, scaring you, guilting you, shaming you, or threatening you to do and buy and behave like they say. That's it. There it is. It's absolutely amazing. Okay. I'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday Word of the Day. Thank you again for your support. Tell your friends, tell your family. Your support is what keeps this thing going. If you're ever driving down the road and I pop into your mind and you say, I've got to do more for Ken Matthews. What about Ken Matthews? What about his family? What about his needs? What about his podcast and career? Now, I don't want you to be distracted. If you need to pull over, that's fine, but don't be too distracted. But hold that thought so when you get home, you can make a donation or extend your subscription. I don't want you on your phone when you're driving. You're going to get too distracted. So if you start thinking about me and you feel the need to further support my channel, thank you for that. Please pull over.